Welcome, first of all, to this beautiful conversation and meditation. I call it living well. Living well at a very interesting time. It's very important that we protect our mental health and use this time for clarity rather than confusion and fear. Because there is what the pandemic is doing, but then how we internalize it is going to have a huge effect on our state of being and thereby our health, and then the people around us, the people we work with, the people that we are responsible for, and people in our community, etc. We're all in this collective consciousness. So here's an opportunity for you. If you've tuned in here, clearly you've recognized the need for us to be able to create community around positive thinking, being optimistic about this opportunity that we've been blessed with, and use that as a way to rise, because this is something that I believe the viruses come as a teacher for us to really go within, look at ourselves and transform that collectively as a human race. If you think about it, as the first time I think ever in the history of mankind has the entire world come to a grinding halt. So there's a very, very profound message here that the universe is putting out there for us to learn and listen. So yeah, I have more friends joining. Fantastic. We are about almost 50 people so far, and I bet there's more people going to join in because we had almost 200 subscriptions. So here's the flow that we're going to follow today, and this is a flow that, as you saw, I sent out a poll, and you all responded to the poll saying that you would rather just listen and type in your questions in the Q&A. And that's great. I was also prepared for us to break out into little groups and have conversations, but there's very few, about 90% of you prefer to listen and ask your questions. That there will be a section where you'll be encouraged to put your questions. But anytime, if you want to say something that the group needs to, or at least the panelists, so the way we have it is that I have two friends, Rohit and Shivani, who are managing the YouTube live and this Zoom chat. They'll be helping me to curate the messages that are coming in from you. So if you have any technical issues or anything, difficulties, please go ahead and post it in the chat window, and only us can see it, because once the meditation starts, we don't want the little orange window popping up and disturbing others. So, but if there is something important, go ahead and do it. And then there will be a section later where I'll open up for Q&A, where you will be encouraged to post your questions and so on. So please wait for that. So think about your questions, formulate them, and then you will type them, and then I will open that up and read them, and then we'll just go by sequence of which we get the questions. So the flow is going to be as follows. I'll do a little stretching exercise, like I said, to connect with the body. And then we will do a meditation for about 10 minutes where we tune into the heart. And then I will pose a reflection question at the end of that as we go from the deep dive and coming out of it. And I would like for you to share your answer to the reflection question in the chat window. And following that, I'm going to open it up for Q&A. And so there will be a separate Q&A window that pops up, where the questions that you've thought about, you could type it in there, and we'll try to take as many in the interest of time. So we're about 6 minutes into it, and we have a pretty good turnout. We have lots of people from around the world joined in here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So why don't we take in some deep, comfortable breaths? I'm going to go ahead and move my chair a little bit back so you guys can actually see what I'm going to do. So I want you to please put your palms together. And then as you're breathing in, raise your hands and take it to the top. And then as you're breathing out, do the opposite. Bring your hands down. So taking a deep breath as you're going up. Hold, and then breathe out. Blowing out wind through the mouth. Breathing in through the nose. Hold, breathing out as you blow the wind. I want you to drop into yourself with your eyes open or closed, whatever you feel most comfortable with. I want you to tune in to the breathing that you are doing right now as the air goes in through the nostrils, up and then down the windpipe, filling to the very bottom of the lungs. And as you exhale, feel the warm breath coming out through the tips of the nostril. So breathe into your belly. This is called diaphragmatic breathing. And when you breathe into the very bottom of your abdomen, you'll notice the rise and the collapse of the stomach, not the chest. Just like when you see a baby sleeping very peacefully, you will see that it's actually the abdomen that rises and collapses, not the chest. Now, I want you to focus particularly on that inflection point. Notice the air as it goes up through the nasal passage and then down through the windpipe. That inflection point right there behind the bridge of the nose, so where the eyebrows meet the nose. Notice that to be the seat of all creativity in your body. It is a seat of all memories. It is a seat of all consciousness. Imagine this consciousness to be like a spark of light. Imagine a tiny spark of light right there behind your eyes, just below the brain, somewhere between the ears. And from this spark of light, there is a peaceful energy that emanates. I want you to consciously focus that light and fill and surround the brain from the inside of your head. Now, let that light fill and surround the eyeballs from behind the eyeballs. Let that light go through the face, to the nose, to the cheeks, lips, the right ear, to the back of the head, to the left ear, and then inside of your head, like the tongue, the teeth, the jaw. And then let that light go down through the throat passage into the chest. Let the light touch your heart and fill your heart. Let the light fill your lungs, into your stomach, into your kidneys, the liver, and then down in through the intestines, all the way to the bottom of the abdomen, and then into your hip region. Let the light fill your hip region, and then let it go down just through the left leg, through the thigh, to the knee, through the shin, to the ankle, the foot, and toes. Similarly, let's go from the hip down the right leg, through the thigh, to bottom of the foot, to the tips of the toes. Now, starting from your shoulders, let the light go down just your left arm, through to the elbow, forearm, to the wrist, and the fingers. And now let's just go down the right arm from the right shoulder. Let the light go through the upper arm to the elbow, through the forearm, wrist, palm, and fingers. At this point, your entire body space is filled with white light that emanates peace. Now, imagine this light permeates through your skin, radiating out, creating an aura about 6 inches outside your body in all directions. To the front, the back, sides, above and below. This light that surrounds your body protects you from any external harm. And the light that is inside your body heals your body of any ailments. Now let us extend this light of compassion out, filling your home, touching all your loved ones, your friends, your family. And now let us particularly send this light, this healing white light, to those people who are holding up our services as the whole world is under lockdown. These are the people at your grocery store, the doctors, the nurses, the people who are still delivering mail, keeping the streets safe, keeping the grocery stores stocked with food, so the farmers. Let us thank them. Let us give them power, give them immunity as they work hard to keep us safe. Now, gently, very gently, bring your attention back to the center of the forehead. See yourself as a spark of light, a beautiful, sparkling, conscient being. And at your own pace, as you gradually, as you're coming into this, back into this space, ask yourself this question. What am I extremely grateful for in these times? What am I extremely grateful for in these times? So slowly, as you open your eyes, you can go ahead and put in your answer in this chat window. So if my friends Rohit and Shivani, one of you can open up the chat for everybody to be seeing it. I'd love to hear, what is that one thing that you're extremely grateful for? It could be more than one, but pick one thing that you're extremely grateful for in these times. To be home, to be able to eat food, for love, for the gift of life, for family, for strength, my partner, my health. Yes, wonderful. Yes, great. Amazing. Yes, abundance of food. Yes, we still have good food to eat. We can stay healthy. We have a shelter. Yes, that's true, right? Think about those people that don't have shelter and safety like we are blessed with, family and friends. Absolutely. The world to reassess what is truly important. Yes, this is an opportunity to question. This is a gift of self-inquiry. My mother who cooks for me. I'm too busy treating patients. Wonderful. Thanks, Shikhar, for that. Yes, very important. For my grounding grandfather. Yes, he's lived through World War II. Wow. Yes, people who have seen lots worse than this. I'm breathing. Yes. And I have a view. Well, I have eyes as well to be able to view, to be able to relax without guilt. Yes, that's true. And to be present. Thank you, Luz Elena. Yes, to be very present is the gift of being present. Otherwise, we're running around like headless chicken, right? So yes, wonderful. So as these things, and I'm seeing, people streaming in these responses now, go ahead and if we could open up the Q&A, I'd like for us to be able to please formulate any questions that you might have that you want to be addressed, answered. And we'll try to take as many as we can. We've come to 20 minutes. I promised you 20 minutes is the length of these conversations. And if anybody needs to drop off, I respect it. I want to honor your time. Thank you for being here. If you need to go, you have other commitments that you've committed to, that's fine. But if you wish to be here for some Q&A, I encourage you, I invite you to stay along. Good to see the pollution decrease. Yes, Alka. Yes, me too. And it's happening all over the world. So is there a message there that we need to be spending more times like this, unplugged, not driving our cars, more time with our friends and family, right? And then Mother Nature will have a chance to catch up. We've been consuming, for God's sake. We've been consuming like as if Mother Nature can provide without any limitations, but it is also within the finite world, right? Its supreme being is unlimited, but Mother Nature, with all of its greatness and its powers, it still is, has certain finite resources and they need to recuperate. So yes, we're giving it time. And so Margarita is saying 20 minutes is so short. Well, folks, I'll be honest, if this is a slightly different conversation that we're having now. If I told you a month ago that, take 30 minutes to join me on a meditation, half of you wouldn't show up. So I want to ease you guys into this thing. Yeah, so 20 minutes is short, you're right. But like I said, this is the officially, the time is up, but if you want to stay along and participate in the Q&A, you're welcome. If you need to go, I totally understand it. Okay, so Shikhar has asked a question. So maybe from the planet's perspective, humans are the virus, COVID-19 is the antibody. So it's a more of a comment. So Shikhar, you're right. So yeah, so the way I'm looking at it, Shikhar, is that we're all part of this system, so just like there are many cells in the body, And there's certain cells that are, there's some healthy cells, some weak cells, but they all make up my body, right? So as we go through this crisis, what is happening is we have to realize that this is also the COVID-19 is also part of the system. And it has come here to say that something is at dis-ease. If you look at that word dis-ease, we're out of ease. We need to take time to slow down, right? What do you do when you get sick, right? You slow down, your body cannot function. So you basically take time off from work, from everything, all of the commitments, and you rest more, and you take the kind of care for your body to be able to heal. And in that healing comes, there's something called diagnosis. If you think about what a diagnosis is, that to be able to get to the root cause of why am I sick? What is that needs to be removed, healed, eliminated from the system? And so this is the time of diagnosis. We need to each diagnose, and this is not something that we can expect our leaders. We cannot only be looking out for answers. Yes, it is nice to be able to get direction and guidance at this time, but it's also very important. I think the answers really need to come from within us. Each one of us has to realize, and this quiet time, this forced quarantine that we are experiencing, it would have not happened if it was not forced upon us. I'm sure you'll all agree with that. So the message here is, please use this time in a constructive way to look within, look deep into your souls, and ask yourself, what does my way of being, my way of doing, and my way of engaging, how does that need to change? So yes. So the next question is, what can I do to stop reacting to the unpleasant fear-mongering from outside sources, friends, and MSM? So I think the social media, I think is what you're talking about, MSM. So Dana, the most obvious answer to that is, first of all, the consumption, right? So as you have clearly pointed out, even in your message, it's coming from outside sources. So if I know that there is pollution out there, when I know there is violence out there, I know that there are certain things on TV or social media, whatever it is that is basically going to be toxic to me, what am I going to do? The first and obvious thing I need to do is not consume it. So thanks to this meditation stream that I'm doing right now with you guys, preparing for it took us a couple of days with me and my friends. And then before that, I was working on creating a series to put out on my 2 apps that I'm a teacher on, Insight Timer and Simple Habit. Many of you know about that. And I'm putting out a 15-day series called Developing Resilience. And that has been occupying my time so much so that I have not been engaging with social media. I have not been listening. I haven't had a TV in 20 years. That's a different story. But nowadays, the TVs or the media sources are in your pockets. So I haven't had the chance, because I have committed to doing something more purposeful at this time to help people, to share my gift, to create a sense of calm, and collectively to be able to move forward. So by virtue of that, I'm in this headspace right now to be able to share something positive with you all. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but as you probably can see, I'm not sitting here in a state of complete disarray and fear. So that was the number one thing I would suggest, is that you need to regulate your consumption, and you need to commit yourself to something positive. And again, folks, I repeat this is that gift of time that we've always wanted, right? Everybody said, I wish there were more hours in a day. Yes, here's the perfect response to your request, the answer to your prayers. So please use this time in a very good way. Okay, so the next question is from Melissa. What do you think the lesson is for those less fortunate? So here's the thing. So Melissa, I don't see anybody as less and more fortunate. As you saw in the responses when people say, what am I grateful for, right? There are things that, my eyes, to be able to hear, to be able to chat with you people, to be able to create community, be able to eat food, to have shelter. All of this is, we have things. So now when you call something as fortunate and unfortunate, that's a very relative thing. When I look at myself and all the blessings that I have, then where do I fall in that spectrum? Perhaps being more fortunate than not. So you got to ask yourself, what is it that, what is the mindset with which you're coming from? So are you in the state of saying that I have blessings that I can think about and count upon, which in itself is that gratitude, and I do these whole courses on gratitude, but the essence of the message there is when you think about the things that you're fortunate about, that is like acknowledging the gifts you've received. And it's like almost putting out a blessing into the world, thanking the world for what it has given you, which then comes back, it echoes back to you. Okay, so first of all, that's the mindset, which when anybody's feeling unfortunate, this is the first thing I would recommend, is think about the blessings that you have, which will quickly move you from that needle from being unfortunate to fortunate. But then, yes, then there's the other thing, right? There are people that have lost jobs as realities. I mean, the street is full of all kinds of messages right now, people who are sick or hospitalized, and there are care workers who are putting themselves on the wire, which is where do we send the blessings to them. I don't know if you would try to categorize those people as less fortunate. Then I would say that it is a message to all of us. Like, remember what I said, we are all part of one ecosystem, and say our health is determined by the health of the weakest link in our society, right? So think about it, right? If there is a part of me, if there's a particular organ or limb or what have you that's not well, I don't just ignore it and say, okay, you know what? The mind doesn't say, that's your problem. Heart doesn't say, I'm going to stop pumping blood. I don't care about you. We take care of each other. How does the unit work? The whole body system work? It takes care of each other. So perhaps the lesson for us all to see is that there is no other there. There is no somebody else is less fortunate. That is an inquiry into us to be able to take this as an opportunity to say that we are all part of this, either well-being or dis-ease, and say, how do we take care of each other? How do we reach out to each other? So that's what I would say is my response to your question. Long answer to your question. So maybe I'll just take one more again, please, in the interest of time. I said 20, but we're at 30 right now, but I'll take this one more question. How to trust in times like these? Not knowing who is infected, many conspiracy theories floating around, and survival mode kicking in. So yes, you're right. There is, I'll just talk about some of the cases. Tom Hanks and his wife, the wife of the Prime Minister of Canada, NBA players. Well, NBA players are a lot in contact with people. But then when I heard of Prince Charles today, who I would think is one of the person literally living in an ivory tower, the metaphoric ivory tower, when they are infected with this virus, then you would ask yourself, how susceptible are each of us? But so I'm not a medical professional. There's enough information out there, which you've probably seen from the governments and our medical system that are putting out on what to do to take care of yourself, isolation, the hand sanitizing, and just, basic hygiene, going back to that. So you heard enough about that, so I'm not going to address that. But I think the part here is the conspiracy theories kicking in my survival mode. So that is the part I want to say. This is a mental, this is an emotional, this is a spiritual problem that you're asking. And I want to address that, Rahul. So I go back to, I'll infer to the previous response I gave and say, what are you consuming? If you are not putting checks and balances around what you're consuming, listen, ultimately the human brain, like anything else in the world, like we've learned in high school physics, we reach a state of equilibrium with the company we keep. We are an average of the company we keep. So then the question I have for you is, who are you letting into your inner circle? When I say inner circle, I'm not talking about physical space, I'm talking about mental space here, right? So who have you let in to influence that state? And if you've let in more negative messages, more negative fear mongering into your head space, into your heart space, guess what? Automatically, you are an average of the company you keep. So that completely is within our control. And I would say that, please, this is very important, not just for ourselves, but if you're a person who's responsible for a family, for elderly parents, or if you're a caregiver in this time, whether you're a doctor, a nurse, if you're a service provider, that is part of what we call essential services that are keeping our society still running despite all the lockdowns. You remember this mental health, the mental hygiene I'm talking about is not just for you. It is for all the people that you're going to be interacting with, all the people that you're responsible for. So we have extreme responsibility for us to be able to take care of our inner space. So folks, so that's 30 minutes. Thank you so much for joining. I would like to ask that you to come back with your questions tomorrow. So remember, we're doing this for 15 days. So it runs for us in America. Today is the 25th. It'll run up to the 8th of April. And for those of you who are on the other side of the world, so Europe, China, India, Australia, New Zealand, all of those, please check your time zone. So it's the same time zone. So you'll be starting on the 26th, so you'll be ending on the 9th of April. So we have plenty of time to take a whole lot more questions. So I would like to basically poll you all to respond and just send you a thing and say, is it okay for us to have a little bit longer format so we feel a little bit more relaxed and not having to rush to end the session right after the meditation and not have enough time to take these kind of great questions that you guys have been asking. And clearly this is something that is sitting on the top of your head. So let's try and address it. Okay, so go ahead and type in your responses. And officially, I want to thank you all. Thank you so much. It's the first time I've ever done something like this, having a group of lovely friends and family, and even everybody, really everybody's friends and family for me around the world, whether I personally have met you or not. So join me again, same time tomorrow. Until then, be well.